Good morning, students. Today we will conclude this chapter, that is the second chapter of history. Up till now we have seen many of the things, how Indian people, Britishers came to India to trade, and ultimately they changed their plan and they started doing their own business, individual business, right? We have seen about the Robert Clive also yesterday, right? Robert Clive, he was been appointed as a governor of Bengal in 1764 to remove the corruption from the Bengal, right? To remove the corruption from Bengal, he was been appointed, but ultimately when you see the figure which he has been earned, it was a very fortunate that he has earned a lot of money from India itself. When he came to India, he was just doing a business on the part of a British, that is East India Company. But ultimately here it shows, the figure shows that he has gained his personal property also. So maybe in future we see that if in future, because he has been appointed for the same thing, and if he is being caught then it will be very insulting for him that he has been appointed for an corruption, to remove the corruption, and he himself has been so corrupted that it doesn't look nice. So as we have seen yesterday also, in 1774 he himself committed suicide before he gets caught. Now we will see further about the battle of Buxar also, right? Now slowly and gradually company expanded its rule, right? After that, the battle of Buxar in 1764, the company appointed the residents in the Indian state. They were political and commercial agents, and their jobs was to serve and further the interest of the company, right? The year means in 1764 the company appointed all the residents. Residents means those who are residing in India, all the Indians. It was been, they have been appointed only Indians in this particular what you can say Indian state to do this work, and there were political and commercial agents also who were working for this, and their job was to serve the further interest of, and their job was only and only for company. They have to do their job only for the company, nobody else, not any Indians, no any Indian ruler, no any Indian what you can say zamindars or nawabs or sort of things, right? Now the residents, the company officials began interfering in the internal affairs of the Indian state. They tried to decide who was to be successor to the, now they only decided now who will be the successor of the throne, means who will be now following the throne after this particular king or this particular Mughal or what this particular what you can say throne holder, right? So they themselves decided, it was all decided by themselves, that is East India Company, nobody else, right? They tried to decide who was to be successor of the throne and who was to be appointed in an administrative post. They themselves decided who will be the person who will be occupying the administrative post in this particular area, right? Now next is the company forced the state into the subsidiary alliance. As we all know, that subsidiary alliance, according to the term, this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed. Indian rulers were only, as we have seen in the previous session also, only now this only Indian rulers have remained as a puppet rulers, right? They were not at all now able to take any kind of a decision power. They were not having any decisive power in their hands only. So that is what subsidiary alliance is. According to the term of the alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed force. Here also they were not also allowed to have their own independent armed forces, right? So that is also the thing. They were not to be protected by the company. Yes, if they are having any armed forces, then they were not at all protected by the company, right? Yes, but they have to pay for the subsidiary forces. Yes, they were not allowed to be in the army but all the army or the subsidiary forces were of the Britishers. They were not allowed to take any responsibility for that forces, but they have to pay. They have to pay for this subsidiary forces that the company was supposed to maintain for the purpose of this protection. Yes. If the Indian rulers fail, and in case if the Indian ruler fail to feed this subsidiary forces, or they are not capable to take care of this subsidiary forces, then they will charge heavy what you can say fine also, and maybe possible that many of the territories were being captured by the Britishers, right? If the Indian, as we see, if the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, the part of the territory was taken away as a penalty. Now, for example, when the Richard Wellesley was the Governor General in 1798 to 1805, the Nawab of Awadh was forced to give over half of his territory to company in 1801. And as he failed to pay, then the subsidiary force, due to the subsidiary forces, Hyderabad was also forced to free territories on the similar grounds. Now that was the thing which had happened of with the Nawab of Awadh, right? He was not able to feed the subsidiary forces. He was not able to take care of the subsidiary forces in Awadh. So because of that, the Richard Wellesley, who was the Governor General during that time, he forced and he fined this Nawab of Awadh, and he have to pay certain, he was supposed to pay the taxes, he was supposed to pay the revenue or the fine, but as he was not able to pay that thing, he was being, his most of the territories was being captured by the East India Company. Now next you will see yes. As we all know, the Tipu Sultan, we will see something about the Tipu Sultan. As we all know that the Tipu Sultan is also known as by the tiger of Mysore, right? He and his father, Hyder Ali, you might be knowing about the Hyder Ali also. They both were very strong and very powerful rulers in about south, you can say Mysore, basically, right? Mysore was only known because of this Tipu Sultan or Hyder Ali only, right? Mysore has grown in strength under the leadership of the powerful rulers like Hyder Ali, ruled from 1761 to 1782, and his famous son Tipu Sultan, we all know him as a tiger of Bengal, Mysore, or tiger of Mysore, right? Tipu Sultan ruled from 1782 to 1799. Mysore controlled the profitable trade of the Malabar coast. Malabar coast we see in the south, that is all Malabar coast. Whole coast was then all ruled by this Tipu Sultan, right? Malabar coast where the company purchased the pepper and cardamom. As we all know that this foreigner, these East India Company people came to India through the sea route, and they only visited this Malabar coast. And here, because as we all know, in the south we have a lot of spices. Today also, if you go in the south area, you will get good amount and good quality of the spices available in the south. If you go in the Kerala, Karnataka, Bangalore, Mangalore, wherever you go, you get good amount and good quality of the spices, right? So similarly, East India Company through Malabar coast, they entered, and the basic thing was to purchase pepper and cardamom, right? Now in 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood. Yes, exactly, sandalwood. Yes. We find lot of sandalwood forest in this area, in the south area. Here we find lot of sandalwood forest in this area. Sandalwood, good quality of a sandalwood. Maybe you might have visited some for the picnic or the tour in the south India. you see lot of things, lot of handicraft made up of a rosewood or a sandalwood, right? Sandalwood things, sandalwood talcum powder, soap, many lot of things made up of a sandal, right? Sandalwood. Now sandalwood, paper and cardamom. Now Tipu Sultan, he himself was a good leader and good ruler. So he always thought about his country. So as he came to know that this British that is East India Company, their what you can say, their hope means they don't have a good vision about India. They only are thinking about their own benefits, own profits. So what they did, Britishers, they only came for their personal interest, personal profit. So, but obvious, Tipu Sultan would not only think about people, because he don't want that his people will get any losses. So he stopped exporting sandalwood and all the spices, that is the pepper, cardamom, through the ports of his kingdom. Whatever ports fell under his kingdom, he stopped doing export of all these things, right? And he disallowed local merchants for trading with the company, and also he stopped and he didn't allow any local merchant, any local traders to trade with East India Company. He also established a close relationship with the French in India. As we all know that only Britishers are only not there in India who came for the trading in India. Lot of people, lot of foreign peoples came to India to trade in India, right? And there were French, Dutch, Portuguese, Britishers, n number of people came to India, and French were already there. So what this Tipu Sultan did, he maintained a good relationship between French people, and yes, but obvious, Britishers would not like this thing, that if we maintain a good relationship with French, then what will happen, that French will get a lot of business from India and they will not get a business. So first and foremost thing what they did, they tried to quit this French people from India, right? So that is the thing they wanted to do, the very first thing. So, and modernized his army with their help. He also modernized his army with the help of the French people in India, right? Now the company forces were defeated by Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan in several battles. You will see in history that many battles were fought with the Tipu Sultan. 4 battles were fought with the Tipu Sultan, and the last battle, which was only meant for the Sringapatnam, that was the capital of Tipu Sultan, and which was the last battle of Tipu Sultan. You will see that also, right? But in 1792, what happened? Attacked by the combined forces of Marathas and the Nizams of Hyderabad and the company, Tipu Sultan forced to sign a treaty with the Britishers, by which 2 of his sons were taken away as the hostages, right? There was one treaty signed by the company because this company was been joined force with the help of Marathas and Nizam. They were not alone. They had the powers of Marathas also and Nizams also. And here he has to sign a treaty, and where his 2 sons he has to give away as a hostages, right? British painters always like painting scenes that shows the triumph of the British power. We all have seen that. Now, the British were very furious about the things. They saw Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan ambitious, arrogant and dangerous. They found these 2 people were most dangerous, more danger for their career, for their future was because of these 2 people, father and son. So first and foremost thing was to to remove this hurdle from their way out of it. So rulers who had to be controlled and crushed. So they wanted to crush this ruler or remove these 2 rulers from their way. Get rid of these 2, what you can say, father and son. So 4, as I said you right now also, that 4 wars been fought with this. 4 wars were fought with Mysore. That is, first was 1767 to 1769. First war. Second war 1782, 84. Second war. Third war 1792, 92, and the last war was 1799. 1799 was the last war. Here it was just fought in the Seringapatam, which was the capital of the Mysore, or which we call as the Tipu Sultan capital. This battle was the last battle, and here Tipu Sultan was defeated and he died fighting this battle. The Battle of Seringapatam did the company ultimate win. Company ultimate, after fighting the 4 wars, ultimately at the last war, the company defeated Tipu Sultan and the company got the victory. Tipu Sultan was killed defending his capital Seringapatam. Mysore was placed under the former ruling dynasty of the Vodiyas, and the subsidiary alliances was being tried. Right? Next, you will see. Now, wars with Marathas we will see. Right? Here in this wars of Maratha, we will see from the late 18th century the company was sought to grab and eventually destroy Maratha power. With that defeating the third battle of Panipat in 1761, the Maratha dream for the ruling from Delhi was shattered. Yes, you must have seen the recent movie about the Panipat. Recently we had a movie. In that also you must have aware about the war about the Panipat also. In that it has been said Maratha only wanted to be ruler of the Delhi, which was not possible. For the short time they have been got a victory about the Delhi, but then ultimately it was again back to the others. They were divided into many states under the different chiefs, that is Sardars belonging to the dynasties such as Scindia, Holkar, Gaikwad and Bhosle. These chiefs were held together in the confidency under the Peshwa, that is the principal minister, who became its effective military and administrative head based in Pune. Right. Now, Mahatma Scindia and Nana Fadnis were the two famous Marathas, soldiers and the statesmen of the late 18th century. Now, these were the two persons who were the main soldiers and you can say statesmen of the Maratha dynasty. Now, the Marathas were subdued in the series of the war. They had a series of war to become what you can say come under the power, right? In the first war that ended in 1782 with the Treaty of the Salbai, there was no clear victory. Exactly, we cannot call exactly a clear victory. The second was the Anglo-Maratha War in 1803 to 1805, which was fought with the different fronts, resulting in the British gaining Orissa and the territories north of the Yamuna River, including Agra and Delhi. Now, third was the Anglo-Maratha War in 1817 to 1819. Crushed the Maratha. Now here the Maratha war was totally finished. It was been totally crushed. Now the Peshwa was removed. Peshwa was the means you can say the administrative means as we have a prime minister to control the country. Similarly, Peshwas were that kind of a person who tried to control the kingdom. Right. Set the two Britishers near the Kanpur with the pension, right? The company now had a complete control over the territories of the south of the Vindhyas, right? So this is the thing about the war of the Marathas. Right. Now we will come to the claim to paramountcy. Now under the Lord Hastings, Governor General, from 1830 to 1823, a new policy of a paramountcy was initiated. Now the company claimed that its authority was the paramount or the supreme, hence its power was greater. Hence its power was greater than that of the Indian states. Right. When the British tried to annex the small state of Kittur in Karnataka, right now it is in Karnataka today, Rani Chennamma took the arms to lead an anti-British resistance movement. She was arrested in 1824 and died in the prison. She was been arrested and she was been in prison, and she died in prison itself. When she was arrested, it was the year 1824 and she died in 1829. But Rana, a poor chowkidar of Sangoli or in Kittur, carried the resistance. Whatever the work was left halfway by Rani Chennamma, the same work was carried by Rana, the poor chowkidar of Sangoli in Kittur, carried on the resistance with the popular support. He destroyed many British camps and records. He was caught and hanged by the British in 1830.